Hey guys, it's Miss Walker. So today we're going to start learning about slope and y-intercept. We have done a lot of things this year so far that have to do with proportions, proportional relationships, and on a graph, those would be relationships that start at 0, 0, and they go from there. When we start looking at slope and y-intercept, these relationships are not going to start at 0. So we want to learn about why these are different than what we have been learning this year. So you're going to go to this website here, gg.gg/slope-intercept-intro. You can just open a new tab, type that in.
Hi again, this is linear relationships video.
Now, I know this guy sounds kind of boring, but his information is really good. And as you go through this video here, let me get past this ad. What you're going to do is split your screen. And what that means is you're going to make this screen a little bit smaller. And you can take your Jamboard lesson and have that out to the side. So as you watch your video, you're actually going to be taking notes on slide 2. And here's the video link here again. Okay, so let me play this video. We can kind of talk through what we see. Okay, sorry guys, I had to pause it for a second. I was on the wrong video. All right, so as he talks through this, he's saying that B is the y-intercept. So you're going to fill that in here. A y-intercept means the starting point, which is where the line meets the y-axis, as you see right here. If you look at this graph right here, this is the y-axis. Where your line meets is where it starts. Like if you said x is 0 at 0 minutes, where does that value start? Once we look at some real world examples, this will kind of make a little bit more sense to you. So let's just keep taking notes with the video. M is the gradient or the slope of the line. It's usually in fraction form. And it tells us the rise over run. How much it's changing this way and how much it's changing this way. This is rise is up or down, and run is how the data is moving over. Now, when M is positive, the line is going to go up to the right. And so as a picture example, it would be something like this. An example of a positive slope would be miles per hour, like I'm on a road trip. Hours would be down here. Let me label this, hours. And my Y value would be miles. So for example, maybe I spent the night at a hotel somewhere along the way. When I wake up in the morning at 0 hours, I've already traveled this many miles right here. So my y-intercept would be that value when x is 0, 0 hours. As my hours increase, the number of miles increases also, because as I'm traveling, my miles are also increasing. So your line is going up to the right. When M is negative, the line is going to be going down to the right. So this would be a negative slope. One example that I can think of for a negative slope would be like, let's say you are draining a sink. So you have your sink that's filled with water. We could label that in inches. So let's say when you start at 0 minutes, your sink has 5 inches of water in it. As time goes on, as the minutes increase, the number of inches that are in the sink are going to decrease. That would be a negative slope, and your line is going down to the right. All right, if we go to slide 3, we're actually going to look at a different video for that. Situation 2 equation. Okay, and on slide 4 is where you'll actually fill in the information. All equations should be in this format. Let me turn the sound on this video and let's see what she has to say.
Or a description. Well, first we need to do is answer this important question. What information do you really need? And I'm referring to writing an equation. We know that all equations should be set up in this format, y equals mx plus b.
So here's your format, y equals mx plus b. I want to talk to you about this format because when we were learning about proportional relationships, we always just use this, y equals mx. And really when we learned about it, it was k. I don't know why they changed the variable. I wish they would keep m for every slope that you learn, but even starting in 6th grade, you learn y equals kx. In 7th grade, when they start teaching you, it's y equals kx. But then as we move into that 8th grade state of mind and thinking about these linear relationships, they change it to m. So I don't want you to get confused there. M and K are the exact same thing. The only difference between them is that K means it's proportional. M is going to still be the slope. It's still that rate of change, but it's within a non-proportional relationship. So in this situation, y equals mx plus b. That's going to be where our data starts when x is 0.
These are the two items we need to have. We need to make sure that we have the slope and we have the y-intercept.
And I know the video, it kind of has a weird noise on it, but once again, I love the information in this video, so I use this video every year, even though it's not the best quality, but we're going to move past that.
We can't write an equation. One of the things we want to look at in this module is really looking at situations and graphs, looking in the real world and seeing what's going on and how can we model that. So we're going to take a look here at this situation. Here we have a graph, and we need to know what's happening. We can see that on the y-axis, we have amount paid to a DJ, and on the x-axis, we have time in hours.
Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. Those are our two variables. We have time, that's our x variable, and we have money, our y variable. Time and money. We can see this is a positive slope. So as time increases, the amount of money we have to pay also increases. All right, now on our notes, it says first you have to find at least 2 exact points. So let's see how she does that.
Well, basically, what this graph is all about is how much per hour is it going to cost us to hire a DJ. Now that we know what we're looking for, we're going to define our 2 variables that we just said a moment ago we need to have to write an equation. We need to have the slope. And we know that slope is rise over run. So we're going to take a look at this graph here. And we know that it crosses right here in the corner and right there in the corner.
So whenever I say look, find at least 2 exact points, that's what I'm referring to, is finding these points where it crosses exactly at an x and y coordinate. So this is exactly 0 and 100. This point is exactly 2 and 250. If I picked a point like this, I could guess what it is. I could say it's maybe about 1.3 or 1.4, but I really don't know exactly. I want to find those 2 exact points so that I know when I solve for my rise over run or my slope that I'm getting a real value. If I estimate, I might get a close value, but it's not real. It's not exact.
This point being 0, 100, and this point here being 2, 250. Now, we can use the slope formula, or we can draw a triangle, which is a little bit faster. So we'll do that. And we see that there are 2 boxes down here, and each box is worth 1, so we know that that is worth 2. Now the rise, even though there are 3 boxes, each box is worth 50. So that means that this would translate to 150. And you can tell also because 250 take away 100 would give you 150. So that's our rise. So if we take our rise, which is 150, and we divide it by 2, we can simplify that into 75 divided by 1.
Okay, so our slope here, our rise over run, is 150 divided by 2, 75 over 1. Now that's all great and everything, but what does that even mean? We don't want to just do math and not know what we are talking about. What it means is that's $75 in 1 hour. So that's the cost of our DJ, or the amount of money spent per hour. Y-intercept would be the starting point. When we have 0 hours, we start at $100. So what could that mean? The DJ hasn't even started playing any music yet, but we've already paid him $100. What could that mean? It could be a setup fee. It could be a deposit, like I have to reserve him for that evening or whatever. It's some kind of starting point. Okay, so we can call it a setup starting fee. For our equation, we're going to put it into this format where m is our slope, b is our y-intercept. So our equation would look like this. Y equals 75x, because it's 75 per hour, right? That's our rate. And we're going to also add 100 to whatever our cost is. We have our 75 per hour, but we're starting at 100. So when you look at this equation, I want you to kind of describe what I just described, but put it in your own words so that I know that you're understanding what is happening in this equation. I want you to try solving the following slides on your own, where you have a changing rate would be your slope, and your starting point would be the y-intercept. So I'm just going to write those little hints up here. Slope is your rate of change. So it's the amount that's changing. Your y-intercept is going to be your starting point. All right, guys, as always, if you have any questions, inbox me. I will see you later, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Love you guys. Bye-bye.